minutes from our last meeting? Did that come through?
Last meeting was at the, June meeting, and, the last time we were out here, that was just for us to go over, review those minutes. What you think about it?
Okay, this special meeting of the Board of Commissioners for the Housing Authority is now called to order. It is now 10:11. By roll call, can we have the commissioners who are present? My name is Douglas Hawkins and I'm the chair.
Jerome Moultrie.
Linda Williams, Rosa Mullins, Vice Chair.
All right, it is determined that there is a quorum. Our guest today will be,
Esperon Huggins, Director of Facilities Management.
okay, and also guest,
Tanya Brown, News.
Seth Taylor, Western Courier.
okay, and Tammy,
Tammy Mackage.
okay, thank you. All right. I am trying to, hold on just 1 second. Oh, is this it? Yeah.
And the attorney's on the phone.
Oh, yeah. And also on the telephone is our attorney, Mr. Jose Coker. Okay, then we have prayer, please.
Eternal Father, we pause to say thank you. We thank you for your grace and your mercy. And Father, we ask God that you be with us as we conduct the business of the Housing Authority. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Okay. Okay, may we have an approval of the agenda? Chair will accept the motion.
I make a motion that we'll accept the agenda.
I second that motion, Linda Williams.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we approve the agenda. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers have the same option. Okay, are there any of the previous board members that can be approved? If not, then we will table that.
I make a motion that we table the previous minutes.
Okay.
I second that motion.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we table the previous minutes, the approval of the previous minutes. I will, Jose, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I will, however, put it out there just to admonish all of us that these minutes, that they are important, that we do need to approve them, and we need to approve them as soon as practical. So in our spare time, let's go through those, and we ourselves make our individual corrections so that when we come back together, we can get those, have those corrections in there. I know that we said to have staff to look at the
YouTube.
the YouTubes. However, for minute purposes, I'm thinking that there's some things that we as commissioners want in the minutes that staff may not understand that we want those particular things in the minutes, especially when it comes to certain parts of discussion, as far as, the designation of discussion may be enough but for the commissioners here, the designation of discussion may not be enough. We might need to go into details of that particular discussion. And so if that is the case, then we need to do that ourselves to make sure that those things are in the minutes, so that we will make sure that those things are covered. And we need to do that post haste. Oh, I gotta do that. Chair, it has been moved and seconded that we table the approval of the previous board minutes. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Before, I'm sorry, I'm here now, and before I vote, I'd like to be caught up, please.
Okay, thank you. So far, we've only approved the agenda and we tabled the previous board minutes. And I just ask that all of us go through and we make our own individual changes on those board minutes. And then we submit those so that we can have combined.
So we're gonna table them to another meeting.
Yes.
And just for the record, that was the main agenda for calling this meeting, was to fix those minutes. And why I say this is because we understand that some of our terms expired and we don't know if they're being reappointed. So we wanted to make sure that we got these minutes approved before the possible reappointment, correct?
That is correct.
So how do we address that now?
I have no earthly idea.
Okay.
We will in effect, receive advice from council on that. Because the only thing that can happen at this particular point is another call meeting, and and we're not gonna continue, these call meetings. Okay, but that's a whole nother issue. Okay, it was brought up in our the last time that it was suggested that the board hire a secretary or a certified minute taker or court reporter. Basically because of because of the distinctions of having a discussion as opposed to outlining what the discussion was about. The floor is now open for a decision on that, or for all to hear exactly what you feel about it.
Well, we spoke about having a transcriber or a minutes taker, so we could avoid in the future what we're going through now, having the discrepancy with our minutes.
That's correct.
So what would be the pro, I see the pro side, what's the con side?
Okay. If we go to the court reporter type situation, and I have not looked into it, I have not contacted the court reporter or put it out for them. The question comes up as to, are we looking at a transcription, a word for word as to, what happens in the meetings, as opposed to minutes. I need to know which way the board wants to go, because I'm thinking that word for word transcription is not what we want.
Well,
I think,
can I say something?
Chair, that we should consult with attorneys to find out exactly what needs to be in the minutes. As Commissioner Porter did indicate that there's some seats that may be open, but I cannot approve minutes that I think that very important information, pertinent information, should be placed into those minutes. And there is a lengthy amount of minutes, and I would say someone neutral needs to take these minutes just because, and the record should reflect this. When I look at the minutes that was presented to us, it presents the board like we're gorillas. And I'm not gonna approve minutes because there was a whole lot of stuff that staff did that was left out of those minutes. And I think so the public needs to understand that one of the biggest issues, man, is that Creekside stuff was left out. I think Mr. Porter raised a great question about the amount of money was spent. There was a great big conversation. And when we see discussion in those minutes, we need to be very clear about what the discussions is. You know, if we're gonna be open and transparent, so that's why I won't vote to approve the minutes. So I think we should get somebody who's neutral, who has nothing to do with the agency, and I think that they would transcribe exactly what is said, and it would not go to the left or the right, to the board or to the staff.
And I said, this Linda Williams, that there's so much going on now with housing authority lawsuits, on both sides with the employees and with like Creekside. I do believe that we should hire someone to give us word-to-word minutes. We've got to have that for right now. Do we have to keep that? No. But right now, while we're going through all these changes, we need it.
And again, Chair, the attorney, part of, you know, what they do is, in their contract is training. They can train whoever to provide what is needed based upon the statute of the law.
But I think at the end of the day, as I always say, we determine, because the thing is this, we know what we're going through. And I do agree that the minutes need to more correctly reflect what's actually happening in these meetings. There's no doubt about that. Douglas, your issue of whether or not it needs to be a full transcription or just the relevant minutes, how do you decide what the relevant minutes are?
I guess from looking at, you know, from being in other meetings and listening to other committees, organizations, and so forth and so on, I just know of, other than court reporting, I just don't see transcription. Now, and that's just me.
I guess what I'm
but-
asking is, if we have someone transcribing, how do we get the finished product to do what we need?
It goes back to, it has to come back to each of us to, you know, for approval.
So ultimately, I'll say this, Chair. If anyone requests minutes, from the media standpoint, the public standpoint, they send FOIA requests to the attorney. If there is a lawsuit, the attorney is the one who has to prepare for the lawsuit. So again, ultimately, we approve, but I think the attorney needs to be able to say, these are the pertinent things that we need to have in these minutes. And understand that, you know, we all serve on a number of boards, and we all see a number of minutes. But I can promise you, I've never seen what's going on at housing authority. So it's important, man. We're in a lot of litigations, and we need to make sure that our minutes are very, very accurate for whoever wants them, so that they can get them and they can be open and honest straight across the board.
So, what's your pleasure?
I make a motion that we look into hiring a transcriber.
Before we carry that, does that mean, based on your motion, does that mean that we follow procurement procedures? Do we need to follow procurement procedures for that, or do we need to just, and do we need to bring back, bring the proposal back to this board for authorization? I mean, look into, you see what I'm saying? Look into.
So we look into, we look at the procurement policy and allow the attorney, but I would say, you know, allow the attorney to give us some legal advice. But our bylaws say in the absence of an ED, we do have the right to hire a secretary to be in place. I think one of the questions that should be raised is, even if we don't get someone, if we're gonna use people in-house to take the minutes, we need to make sure that they get adequate training to to take the minutes.
Agreed. And I understand, and I understand that there is, I declare that there's still a motion on the floor. The motion has not died for lack of second.
No.
I'm just trying to get clarity, because the
Okay.
motion is that we look into. That is the motion.
Yeah, change.
Okay, look into says, it says to me that I got to bring this,
Let me,
that we got to bring this back.
well, let me correct this.
Okay.
I will make a motion that we allow the procurement guy, Esperon,
Uh-huh.
to put out a bid and bring it back before us and get with legal counsel to see exactly what needs to happen to move forward.
And I second that motion.
So we're moving properly seconded that we put out for bid for a minutes taker, court reporter, type, situation. Am I saying that right?
I think,
Okay.
I think you're
Got
right.
it, I'm clear. Are there any questions?
No.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Opposers have the same option. Okay, that is unanimous. And, okay. Okay, there are the approval of the July meeting, there are some, as you stated, there are some issues, or some questions that should come up. I am anticipating some answers from regulatory authorities. I'm just anticipating them to come up before the end of this month. That's you or that's me? Okay. I would like to go ahead and put it out there that if we need a meeting another meeting for July, that I'd like to put it out there that we can have another meeting for July. Okay. I just do think that I do think that some more information will be forthcoming, and I know that information is not here today, but I do anticipate it, and I think that we will be needing to make some decisions before our regular meeting in August. HUD, that HUD decision. That's one. Okay. Are there any cons to that? Any cons? Okay. So by acclamation, we will approve another July meeting if necessary. Okay. The last part of this meeting is that at our last session, that we did authorize the vice chair to speak to Mr. Esperon Huggins, concerning fulfilling or filling the responsibilities of interim executive director until such time that a permanent executive director can be put in place. As a result of that conversation, that conversation with the vice chair and Mr. Huggins, he has agreed to fulfill that. So there needs to be reflected in the minutes of this board that particular action did come before us.
The motion was to authorize the vice chair to speak to the potential interim. That was not a vote to
Right.
appoint them, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So therefore, now, this is I'm calling for that particular.
And before we do that, I would like some discussion. We have been in this spot before. Before we made this decision, did we look at performance reviews Or are we looking at his current caseload? Or are we looking at how those current duties are being handled? Did we discuss any of this? I haven't seen any performance reviews, and that's critical to me before I make a decision to put someone in charge of the agency. Someone who's been with us for a number of years, we should have a track record that we can look at. Have we done that before we made this decision?
With all due respect, Brother Chairman, Commissioner, as a parliamentarian, we should not be discussing this matter because it's not on the agenda. We did not have it on the agenda to talk about whether or not we hired him or whether we're going to hire him. So it's not on the agenda.
What's the agenda?
The update for the update of the executive director is on the agenda, brother.
The update for the executive director, that means I would think he wouldn't be the executive director.
Sir?
He wouldn't be the executive director, he would be the interim. So I would have not approved the minutes.
Well, can I ask this question? If we haven't even voted on him being the executive director, then why is he sitting in the meeting?
Yes, the chair.
I asked him to come in. Because we did name him as the point of contact.
Which was done, and I want to on record that it was done and not a board decision when it was done.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. One, we are in a position at this particular point where this particular decision needs to be made. How we got there, but we are there. To me, and maybe I read the agenda wrong, but when this particular thing was on the agenda, I guess it could be taken two ways. But the executive, it did not specifically state the interim executive director. It did state the executive director. So, it could.
And so this is my question. If it's not on the agenda, and we know that we didn't vote on it last time, but he was asked if he would take the position, at what point were we going to address it, if not in today's meeting?
That's what I thought.
So let me bring clarity. And the attorney is on the phone. The motion was to allow the vice chair to speak with, and we were very, very clear with Esperon Huggins, facility manager, to, we had a discussion with it. We voted, and I was under the understanding we could go back
To the
and
motion.
read to the motion, because the motion says
One person at a time.
to consult with someone about being the interim. Now, in my common sense thinking, we would not put his name out there because he hadn't agreed. But why would we not, if he agreed, why would we not allow him to be?
No.
But that's neither here nor there. We have the agenda says the update for the executive director. Can we get the attorney to give us an update as to what is going on with the status of the candidate?
So, okay, and Chair, I need you to chair now, because Commissioner Moultrie just made a statement, basically that we shouldn't be addressing this issue at all. If we're gonna table it, let's table it, and then let's ask Mr. Huggins to leave the meeting. It can't go both ways.
I just know that HUD has required an individual name as interim director in the absence of the executive director. HUD has spoken to me about that. I know that I did put off, the naming of an interim executive director until today. Now,
Can I-
Jose,
Are y'all there?
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
Jose, the question is on the floor as to whether or not number one, the question is on the floor as to whether or not the agenda actually, whether or not we can discuss naming the interim executive director based on the agenda that we have for the special call meeting.
It just says the update of the executive director, so it wouldn't be necessarily naming, it would just be the discussion around, updating that.
So that means yes, we can speak about that.
So does that mean yes, we can go ahead and have the vote to, excuse me, if the vote comes up, can we go ahead and make that decision today?
To what? To, appoint the interim director?
Yes. And I understand, and I know that you understand that, we are in open session.
Right, it is not on the agenda to take action to appoint the interim executive director.
Okay? All right. So the appointment of is there an update?
And let me say this, before you speak, Jose, I want to say this to the board and everybody. It's not personal. I don't fight people, I fight policies. And if we're gonna put an agenda, I just want to make sure as a parliamentarian, we follow the agenda and we do what we do. I think in the future, what will be very, very clear and understanding is if the board, and attorney, you can help me with this. If we take actions, we should have a resolution to take action. And we should be very, very clear as to what is happening because apparently there was some miscommunication or something, there was not an understanding. Now, in my mind as a commissioner, I would think if we had given the vice chair permission to move forward and ask someone to be the interim, and I'm glad we didn't name a name, it wouldn't look right on the board part if we asked someone and then after we ask them, we turn around and we regress
Yeah,
what we voted on. We voted to give her permission to go ask. Now, in my thinking,
I thought this was not on the agenda.
okay, so fine. Jose, can you give us an update on the status of the executive director?
Yes, we have reached out to HUD, I believe due to the 4th of July holiday. We have not received a response yet from the director or the attorney. We reached out on Friday, Monday, and Wednesday, and we'll follow back up today to see if they're back in the office.
So did you send them the letter of inquiry that the board gave you permission to send?
Oh yeah, that's been sent. That was sent some time ago. You all were copied on the email that we sent to HUD.
Right, definitely.
that was last week.
That was last week.
That was one of the things that I'm anticipating an answer to.
Have you spoken to her?
No.
Oh,
Not on that.
okay, okay.
The severity of this, why is it taking them so long?
I have not spoken with her on that.
Well, I feel like this. You know, we're the governing board of this agency. This agency is in trouble. We don't have an intern. We can't have, HUD didn't respond to us. It's been going on 2 months now. It doesn't take that long to give a response. So Chair, I make a motion that we proceed on and allow the attorney to present Mr. Bradley a contract and give him a starting date.
And Chairman, if we go against HUD protocol, we are suggesting that we go against HUD protocol and hire someone. We're waiting on a HUD decision. HUD is our governing agency, and we are suggesting to bypass HUD and hire Mr. Bradley? Is that what you're suggesting?
Me?
Oh, I'm sorry, is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, there's a motion on the floor.
Okay.
I motion that we proceed on.
I second that motion to hire Dr. Al Bradley.
Against HUD
The
protocol?
agency,
Okay.
Mr. Hawkins, the agency is not doing well at this time. The employees are going through. They have no direction. Nobody to tell them what to do, how to do, when to do. They have a question, they don't have anybody. And I think we've done our due diligence, and for the best interest of the Housing Authority of Florence, we need to move forward.
Before we answer that, attorneys, please tell me what date did we send out our letter? What date did we send out our correspondence to HUD? What date did we send out our correspondence to HUD?
It went out,
And what date did Pam inform them?
Hold on, what date did we send out our correspondence to HUD?
June 22nd.
June 22nd, which has been, what, 2 weeks at the most? So they haven't had time to respond yet.
So let's be clear. We've been talking to HUD for over a month. And Hope, I respect you. Can you respect me? We've been talking to HUD for over a month. It is not HUD duty or due diligence to run this agency. It is the commissioners. We've done our due diligence. We've consulted with the county attorney, the city attorney. We have what they said in writing. At this point,
Ethics Commission.
hey, this agency needs somebody to run it. Obviously, we tried as a board to put Mr. Huggins in charge.
We did not try as a board.
Well,
Yeah, we did.
the majority tried.
No. It had to come to a vote it had to come to a vote.
Hey, Chair, there's a motion on the floor. Can we entertain the motion? And the motion,
Are
let's
you
be,
calling for the question?
yes, there's a motion on the floor, and I want to be very clear in the motion that we present Mr. Bradley a contract and start him within the next 7 days.
Can I just make one note? As you all know, the agenda does not have listed for taking action to vote on the executive director.
Exactly.
You
Okay.
just stated that it was the update of the executive director.
Okay, you gave me an update, and I made a substitute motion based upon the motion that was already on what was on the agenda was the update. I made a substitute motion to be able to move forward.
So we originally made a motion that we would wait until HUD's decision. Now we're rescinding that motion, saying that we're gonna now vote regardless of what HUD says right now.
Well,
I want to be clear.
we're not rescinding. There's a substitute motion on the floor. Chair, we need to vote.
I'm gonna say this. I feel like everything is being voted through. We have a governing agency that we're waiting on a decision. We reached out to them on the 22nd of June. This is July, 6th? So we have had, what, 14 days, not even 14 business days to get HUD approval. And while we're waiting on this, you're saying to bypass it and let's go ahead and hire someone while it's on their table to make a decision. We can bring it to a vote. Let's go.
And what was the date that the acting interim contacted her?
It was around the 30th or the 1st, but the issue is, the onus was on us to give HUD we didn't give them our official response until June 22nd.
What is the date, as Ms. Holiday said? That's what I wanna know, the date.
He said June 21st.
That we
That
officially,
Pam, when did Pam took the job?
Hey, listen, we having a larger discussion. There's a motion on the floor,
That's right.
and I want to make a substitute motion, so I am very, very clear in this motion. And I want the attorney, as you would say, Commissioner Porter, on many cases,
please don't poke
the
us.
attorney
Please
works
don't
for
poke
us, and we're the governing body of this agency, and I'm making a substitute motion right now today that we move forward, we've kicked the can down the road, we move forward, and we hire Mr. Alfonso Bradley, and a contract be presented to him, and from 7 days from now, so I would say that his start date is to be started no later than the 12th, which is next week. That's 7 days to present him a contract, and let's move forward.
If it's for discussion,
And it's already been, I second that motion.
All right,
can we have discussion or no?
we already discussed. I mean, can we vote?
We have the chair here, sir. Chair, can we have
Two minute
discussion?
discussion.
Okay.
As a parliamentarian, we need to vote. There's a motion on the floor.
So who can
And you
chair?
call for it, and you have the right to call for discussion of the motion.
Okay.
Thank you. So this is my discussion. We recognize already the jeopardy that, sir.
So
this
can I say one thing, Chair? As a parliamentarian, you need to make sure that the record reflects that he's not ready. So what you're saying is
He's
you're
not
not ready to vote.
No. Okay. Listen to me. Before I vote, there needs to be a discussion, which is what he just gave you 2 minutes. At that point, I'll be ready to vote, Mr. Parliamentarian. Thank you, sir. Now, this is my point here. We understand, and I'm going to reiterate it again. We are awaiting a HUD decision. HUD is our governing agency. Our federal funds come from HUD. Now, you're telling me that you're going to hire an executive director over this agency before you get HUD approval. And I just need that, I need everyone here to clearly and consciously tell me that that's what they're doing. And if that's where we are, then let's vote. And I have no more discussion.
It has been moved and seconded. That this board enter into a contract with Mr. Alfonso Bradley. From what I'm understanding, and present that contract with the starting date within the next 7 days.
No later within the starting date. Let's be clear. So the motion is reflect that he is to start no later than the 13th of this month.
All of those in favor? Let it be known by roll call. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Thomas Porter, no. Nay.
Commissioner Gerard Moultrie, yes.
Commissioner Linda Y. Williams, yay.
Rosa Mullins, yay.
Motion passes 5-3-1. My brothers and sisters, at this particular point and on this motion, we authorize our attorney to present a, present a contract to Brother Al Bradley. For the purposes of him becoming the director of the Housing Authority of Florence. And it is so ordered, and, at this particular point, the chair will accept the motion to adjourn.
Brother Chair, before we go, I need to be clear on one thing. We have presented Mr. Bradley based upon what we were given as an outline on the job description. So I want to be very, very clear, Board of Commissioners and the minutes, that based upon what we've given him, once the contract is presented to him, that Chair, that you would execute the contract, and in the absence of you not being able to execute the contract, we want to give the Vice Chair permission to move forward with the contract.
And I'd like to add something else as well. There are some other HUD regulations and stipulations prior to hiring that might come into play here that we need to explore, and I have them on hand, so I'll be happy to send them to the Board of Commissioners. So there are some other things in play before we can hire him. Like there's some other HUD stipulations, and I'll be sure to get them to everyone. That's all I have to say.
Chair will accept the motion to adjourn.
I'm welcome to adjourn.
Wait a
Is it
minute,
possible for me to ask a question?
Actually,
Sure.
everyone to not be in the meeting at all, so I disagree.
Okay, he wants to ask a question.
He shouldn't be in the meeting at all, I disagree. He shouldn't have been here at all.
You invited him, so
You invited
be
him,
nice to the
invited
board.
him, so be nice.
It's not a matter of being
By
nice.
example,
This is
Mr.
business.
Chairman.
I just want some clarity.
Mhm.
I know that in the meeting the other day, it was stated by you, Mr. Chairman, that I was the contact person for the Housing Authority. And in that capacity, I never really got any clarity. I understand that if somebody asks me something, I funnel it to the board, I understand that. However, since you made that statement, I have taken care of complaints, I have taken care of phone calls, and other things, and I don't wanna go in depth with it, but my question is, where do I lie as the contact person? And the reason why I'm asking that is because I feel that I'm doing a portion of the executive director's job. And I think that if I'm doing that, I think that I should be compensated. I think it would be fair to be compensated for doing that portion of the executive director's job. And I say that respectfully, and I'm saying it because
Okay.
I was appointed as the contact person for the Housing Authority
Gotcha.
of Florence.
And before he answers that, I want to apologize to you. I want to say that we sat in this meeting. It was voted on fairly. They placed me as a vice chair out there to contact you per the lawyer, because if it had not been, I would not have done that.
Oh, I-
And so but I just want to apologize to you to where it's falling now, because I would not have gone out of my lane to do that. I was directed to do that, and that's what I did. So I do want to apologize to you
No problem.
if that, offended you in any way.
I'd like to adjourn this meeting because none of this stuff is on the agenda now. The meeting is going to be adjourned.
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I second the motion.
All right. And then, now,
Okay. And, that's all right.
Mr. Hawkins, you have no document for that?